Welcome back to the Automation Podcast. My name is Shawn, and this week on the show, I meet up with Kelby Seyl of Unitronics to learn all about their PLCs, HMIs, VFDs, servos, and more. But before we get to that, I do want to thank our sponsor for this week's episode, theautomationschool.com. If you know anybody looking for a PLC, HMI, or SCADA training, please tell them to check out theautomationschool.com in appreciation for them sponsoring this show and underwriting our course. With that said, let's jump into this week's podcast with Kelby to learn all about Unitronics. Kelby, welcome to the show. It's great to finally get you on. I've been really wanting to learn about Unitronics. You guys have a great website with all kinds of moving graphics. But before we jump into your products and your presentation, could you first introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. First and foremost, thank you, Shawn, for the opportunity to be on here. It's exciting. It's a long time coming. Funny enough, I've been following Insights and Automation for a while, and then going back through our LinkedIn messages, going back to like the end of 2020, happy birthdays, happy holidays. And then we've had a couple, pre-meeting things going on. So it's really cool to see how this all happened. So first and foremost, thank you. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for coming on.
So a little bit about me, I suppose. Born and raised in Nebraska, graduated with a Bachelor of Science Industrial Distribution from the University of Nebraska at Kearney. Most people ask what that is. Best way to describe it is a technical sales leadership business management degree. So it's a hybrid of engineering, management, marketing, leadership classes. So I had a great experience there. With that, 10 plus years of experience from the distribution and manufacturing sides. Worked with hydraulics, electrical automation, pneumatics, so had the opportunity to see many different industries. Currently residing in Arizona. When I'm not working, I'm doing anything outdoors or trying to stay active. So hiking, biking, camping, skiing, running. There's a LinkedIn link right there. I would love to connect.
Hey, Kelby, for the people listening, can you spell your full name? Because that may help them get to you on LinkedIn.
Oh, good point. Yeah. So Kelby Seyl, a sales manager for Unitronics. That's KELBY SEYL. With that, I'm going to do a little 10,000-foot overview of Unitronics. So got their start in 1989, where I think most people know them, PLC, HMI, combined units. Global manufacturer, over 190 distribution partners and integrators. Some of the things that really sets Unitronics apart are the one unified programming environment. So as I'll touch on throughout this presentation, you'll see there's one programming environment for PLCs, HMIs, but then also a lot of people aren't as familiar with the other product lines, such as VFDs, servo motors, servo drives. So we will get into that. The other thing that sets us apart, I guess, is there's no additional cost for the programming environment or software support. Some of the industries that we play in, you could go anywhere from building automation to oil and gas, automotive, food and bev. I just like to show this. A lot of people won't know that it's a Unitronics HMI from the front of it. That's due to our customer base. Most of them are OEM machine builders, so they will have their brand label logo on the front of the screens. But just wanted to show this because I think it complements the product line very well.
And for the audio audience, what we're looking at here is a list of engineering choice awards dating all the way back to 2012. So every year they've won something from control engineering, and that's a really impressive track record, I got to say.
Thank you. Yeah, it's with this, so for the people that are listening, not viewing, this kind of ties into the following slides here. There's about four to five different series of PLC HMIs, and like you say, going back to 2012, you'll see there's a V350, so that's our Vision series. You'll see a couple Samba series in there, and then a Unistream series. So going forward, I'll start with the Unistream series. You'll hear about the Vision and the Samba series as well. So it's kind of neat to see the progression here. Yeah, so we'll start with the Unistream series. This is a little different than what Unitronics started out with in 1989. Thought being, give all the choices and configuration options and see what suits the machine OEM customer the best. with that, so for the listening viewers on the left, you'll see what we call the modular series of Unistream. There's also the built-in, which is the PLC HMI all-in-one that Unitronics is known for. And then just a lot of people refer to it as a brick PLC or a headless PLC without the HMI. So this is expanding on the known PLC HMI all-in-one to different options here. For instance, for the modular, you have 7, 10-inch, 15-inch screen options. Essentially, you pick your screen size, pick the CPU, attach those to the back, and then any I/O and COM modules. For the built-in, that's what Unitronics is known for. So that's the HMI, PLC, I/O, CPU all built into one unit. With that, you get, like I said, 5, 7, 10-inch options, but you pick the part number where the I/O configuration works for your machine the best. The one that's kind of exciting, I think, is...
Hey everybody, just wanted to jump in here really quick and thank our sponsor, theautomationschool.com, for covering all of our production costs this week. If you know anybody looking for PLC HMI or SCADA training, please mention theautomationschool.com to them. And with that, let's jump back into the show.
Going to the brick PLC or headless PLC, and this is coming with the remote access IoT industry 4.0. So you get 5, 7, 10, 15-inch HMI options, but also you don't need to have an HMI with this. You can do the remote access with multi-level password protection. You can get expansion I/O on the DIN rail. So all these are going to be back on the DIN rail, and you can view them with the PC, tablet, or phone. And all of these different options can come with the 5-year built-in subscription to the Unicloud, which I will touch on a little later.
So we have the Unistream modular. This is an HMI PLC, and you put the PLC modules on the back of the HMI, so it's very modular.
Correct.
And then we go to the Unistream built-in, which is kind of that all-in-one you guys are known for. So there's no, you have a HMI, PLC, and a terminal blocks built in. There's no like cards we're plopping on. And then we have the Unistream PLC, which looks like your standard micro PLC with sitting on a DIN rail with different I/O cards and communication cards plugged onto it. In that unit, because it doesn't have a display, you can still access the HMI from your tablet, cell phone, or a laptop. Have I presented that correctly?
You are exactly right. Yes, the Unistream series is different than what the Unitronics brand name has been built on with the PLC HMI I/O all-in-one. So a lot of different options here. The thought was, let's expand our product offering and give customers the ability to choose what works best for them. So to your point, with the brick PLC, as you were talking, you're still able to choose a 5, 7, 10, 15-inch HMI, but also you don't need it because you have that ability to remotely access the HMI on the PC, on a tablet, and the phone, and that's due to the CPU running both the control logic and the HMI applications.
Well, and I think that's where I'm a little confused, because all the way on the left, I see Unistream modular, right? You have the screen, you plop the I/O on the back. You have Unistream built in, everything's all in one. Do you make HMI only models that can connect to the Unistream PLC?
Yep, exactly. So it's not going to
right.
be your modular screens. It's going to be a completely separate line of screens that can connect to the PLC only as well. Yep. The thought there is, the modular, you can save some DIN rail space would be the best way to put it by putting the I/O and COM modules on the back. DIN rail space isn't a huge issue for you. Then you can get the onboard I/O on the PLC. And then put a screen on the front of the control cabinet there if you need to, or you can remote in. Moving on. So that was kind of the hardware setup. Some of the things I wanted to mention are the main points on the Unistream series here in terms of software and programming. So very, very feature rich on the protocols and communication ports. Supports over 2,000 I/O points, whether that's local or remote I/O. And then some additional HMI features, UAC video, PDF viewer, portrait mode also supported. So not going to spend a bunch of time here, but just wanted to mention that it's a pretty high-end model, supports up to 64 independent loops for PID loops, and again, remote access via VNC, web server, and the media support. Some of the protocols, and I'll get into this on the next slide, but did want to mention it does, again, very feature rich on the field bus protocols with OPC UA, EtherCAT, REST APIs, BACnet IP. Then also you'll see an OCPP, which is for electrical vehicle charging. So getting into some more of that advanced protocols for IT and OT.
Yeah, I'm also seeing MQTT, which has been really popular, FTP, Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, and RTU. So you got a great list there.
Yeah, very long list of protocols here to choose from. I'm not going to spend a bunch of time on this, but we do have the remote I/O capability as well, 12 millimeter slice I/O, up to 63 I/O modules per the coupler or adapter, however you want to refer to it as. So if you don't want the Uni I/O that you saw on the DIN rail next to the PLC, and for the listeners, there's Uni I/O, which can be put onto the back of the modular screens or onto the DIN rail. But if you want to run somewhere to a separate control cabinet, we also have the remote I/O capability as well.
Well, that's pretty good, and the operating temperature too. So for the listening audience, this looks like your typical slice I/O. Doesn't matter what manufacturer you have. This does. I do like that it has separate indicators from the terminal block. Some manufacturers, the whole face of the module is the terminal block. I never like that because I like to see the indicators. But 16-bit analog resolution and operating temperatures -40 to 70 C, and this is EtherCAT I/O.
So it's Unitronics Ethernet based, and it has we support EtherCAT on it as well for Unistream PLC.
Okay.
One of the things that I wanted to touch on, so the Unistream platform uses our free Unilogic programming environment. I'm going to move forward on this. I just want to show this screen so you just can see, you can see your ladder logic, you can see your HMI visualizations, but the real game changer, I think, is the all-in-one solution, as I was talking about before. So for the Unistream series, it uses Unilogic free programming environment. Some of the big things to note here, again, are the OT to IT communication protocols, IEC languages. This is also very powerful. So it's free to download. You can go download it, play with it. You don't need any hardware. So it's great for bill of material, I guess. So it's great for designing the hardware and implementing the code. So you can build a bill of material. You can see how it looks on the DIN rail. You can see the expansion modules. It won't allow you to design any configuration that is not compatible with each other. So very powerful software here that you can download and go use whenever you need to.
Now this Unilogic, right? Is this like the same software you use for all your products, or does each line have a different package?
Unistream uses Unilogic, and then also, as you'll see, the VFDs, servo motors, servo drives. So all the hardware can be programmed within Unilogic. Now, when we get to the Vision Series PLC and the Samba Series PLC, they use a different programming software. It's called VisiLogic, hence Vision, and then Unilogic for Unistream. So yes and no to your question. I know there's a ton of information here. So,
but if you're using the Unistream, you're going to be using Unilogic. That's I guess the point here.
Exactly. Yep. In the Unistream, this is Unitronics' answer to bridging that OT and IT implementation gap. So again, you can see just a visualization here. We call it, that central machine being controlled by the Unistream PLC, but then you're implementing your other production line using that OPC UA, that secure MQTT connection up to the Unicloud, and then that remote access to the Unicloud dashboard. Also, talking to the ERP systems via SQL or MES systems via REST APIs there. So now to the Vision series here. So it's not as flavor rich as the Unistream series. It doesn't support as many communication ports, as many communication or field bus protocols, not as many I/O counts or PID loops, but the screen sizes vary from 3.5 inch to 12.1 inch. It still does support about half the I/O count, so up to 1,000 I/Os. So still a very powerful PLC HMI. Again, custom faceplates available. And you do have, your popular field bus protocols there with Modbus TCP and RTU still. So again, still a very powerful PLC HMI. Again, the Vision series does not give you the capability to have the modular series or just the PLC standalone. So the Unistream is where kind of that wider offering has taken off for us. So the Vision series is still the PLC HMI.
One thing for the audio audience too is, we talk Modbus, TCP, and RTU. This also seems to have an isolated 485.232 port. So having that on board is great because you don't need a separate isolator that go outside of the cabinet. So nice.
Yes, exactly. Yep. So the onboard communication ports, you will get that RS-485 and RS-232.
Hey guys, I just wanted to break in here with a message from our sponsor, theautomationschool.com. Over there, we're currently filming all of our new Ultimate courses, and these are our 2023-2024 updates to all of our Allen Bradley PLC courses: Control Logics, Compact Logics, Micro 800, Micro Logics, Slick 500 PLC 5. And currently, if you buy, let's say, Control Logics, the current course, you will get this new course completely free. Same is true with Compact Logics and Micro 800 and Micro Logics. Now, the Slick 500 and PLC 5 courses are brand new, and they are available for pre-order as well. So if you're interested in any of this, please check out theautomationschool.com, and you can contact me there using the link, or you can leave me a voicemail. And with that, let's go ahead and jump back into the show.
So then we get into the Samba series. So this is a very, very budget-friendly, very cost-effective solution for smaller machines. Again, you get your main field bus protocols there with Modbus TCP and RTU, and some of the other ones. To your point, again, the RS-232 for the 3.5-inch models. The thing that I love about the Samba unit is that it's not only is it very economical, but there's 4 different I/O configurations for each size. So 4 different part numbers for the 3.5-inch. 4 different part numbers for the 4.3-inch, and 4 different part numbers for the 7-inch. And what that means is each different part number just has a different I/O configuration, but they're all the same depending on or from size to size. So it's very straightforward, very easy, very cost effective. Just a very simple solution if you are building a machine on a budget. The I/O counts are still pretty high. For instance, you have a 12 digital input, 1 high-speed counter, 2 analog inputs, 2 temperature measurement inputs, 8 digital outputs, and 2 analog outputs. So again, pretty straightforward, but a simple solution that can meet a lot of needs here.
And it looks like you have add-on communication modules for this unit as well.
CAN bus and serial Ethernet are add-on modules, yes.
Awesome.
Again, so Unilogic with the Unistream series. I know this gets a little blurred here with the 2 separate programming environments, but VisiLogic is used with the Vision series and the Samba series that I just covered. Unilogic is more tag-based, configuration-oriented, so it's easier to program, quicker to program with. Again, VisiLogic is free to download and use as well, though.
It almost feels like the Samba is like a micro version of the VisiLogic. I mean, do they program like very similar?
Yeah, it's a great question. So they do program very similar, all within VisiLogic, and that's a good way to put it. So you don't have the processing power, you don't have the onboard memory, not quite the I/O count. So that's a good way to put it.
Okay.
Then we get into the Jazz series. So again, I think the main thing to point out here, as you can see, it's for the listeners here, it's a 2-line programmable. What we consider it's as affordable as a smart relay, but it's a fully functional PLC with a programmable 2-line HMI. You can have up to 40 built-in I/O points on this. The main point here, I guess, and because of our customer base, as far as OEMs, they don't want to see end of life. So we show here that we support long life cycles with our products. All right, that's it for PLC HMI, kind of the bread and butter of Unitronics. Any questions there, Shawn, at all for you?
I think it's interesting they have everything from like the programmable relay replacement, through the low and mid tier PLC HMIs, and then the Unistream, which just seems like a great new line that has just tons of options. So I'm excited now to learn, because I didn't know you guys had servos and VFDs. So I'm excited to learn about these.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point, it's everyone thinks, or I think common misconception out there is there's only PLC HMIs, but then within that there's thousands of different options for which IO configuration is going to fit your needs best, right? So I know that seemed very fast and like a lot of information, uh, but again, I think the main point here is I wanted people to be able to see the breadth of product offering that Unitronics has. It can go from very powerful PLCs to very budget-friendly, cost-effective solutions there. Yeah, so in the servo motors and drives, some main points here. You'll see that we do support EtherCAT and CAN open, offer two encoder options, 23-bit and 20-bit, some braking options, and then about a half horsepower to 6.7 horsepower 200 to 40 VAC, single phase and three phase. Where I want to touch here is get into more of the into the weeds a little bit here. So you'll see for the EtherCAT synchronized motion here. So you have a total of 8 axes. With that, though, there's four synchronized axes and 4 discrete axes, totaling the 8. For the listeners out there, so you'll see the picture here as a brick PLC. You'll have your EtherCAT master module. Again, you can put a Unistream panel or HMI onto it, or you can connect that remotely to your PLC or tablet or whatever you want to see the HMI on. So for the EtherCAT master module, you'll see that the module attached to right there. So that's going to be for your synchronized operations such as gearing and camming. Some applications will be like cut while moving or CNC machines. So a pretty solid offering here. Big fan of EtherCAT. Brings a lot of advantages to the servo offering here. Yeah,
In this image, I'm seeing the EtherCAT master module is not needed for the Unistream panel to program. It's not needed for local I/O. It's not needed for the VFD, but it does seem like it's needed for the servos. Is it for any of your servos, or just the ones that are doing coordinated motion? And is it required for the Unistream remote I/O as well?
great question. So it's only needed the 4 synchronized axes and the 4 discrete axes.
Okay.
Can open. We do not support synchronized axes on the can open protocol. So yes, you are correct. For the 4 synchronized and 4 discrete, you would need the EtherCAT master module there. On then. So on the VFDs, some of the main points I wanted to point out for the VFD offering, single phase, 3 phase, all the way from 120 to 480. Also have some 575 offering for kind of other countries that require that. Speed and torque control, and some I/O on board as well. So it can be a standalone product or be used with PLC for control. Again, want to touch on Unilogic. So Shawn, to your point earlier, you configure program all the hardware. So PLC, HMI, VFD, servo drives, and motors. You set up all the communications, including anything IoT and Unicloud applications. And then you can remotely perform any task. Essentially, it doesn't need a screwdriver. Diagnose any issue without having to drive hours to find that loose connection, which I think we all have probably been a part of.
Yep.
Another cool feature is the pre-programmed function blocks, which makes for drag and drop programming and predefined motion code for drag and drop programming as well. Next, I want to get into IO-Link. This is a pretty new offering for us. I think everyone's pretty well aware of what IO-Link capabilities are, right? Make for smart sensors and actuators using the IO-Link protocol, support troubleshoot, maintain any machine remotely. And then one of the biggest things, so I think, and jump in here, but a lot of things I see is just the ease of wiring, right? And reduce the size of the control cabinets and needed I/O within those control cabinets. Have you seen a lot with IO-Link here, Shawn? Is it a nice term to throw around, or are you seeing it used more and more out in the field with guests on the show? What are your thoughts on IO-Link?
Hey everybody, just wanted to jump in here really quick and thank our sponsor, theautomationschool.com, for covering all of our production costs this week. If you know anybody looking for PLC HMI or SCADA training, please mention theautomationschool.com to them. And with that, let's jump back into the show. Yeah, it's funny because we're seeing two trends. Like IO-Link's been around for a long time,
Yep.
but we're seeing two trends, and really people are starting to embrace IO-Link. And I think a lot of it has to, well, I think it falls into two spaces. Number one, it's just so much easier to set up, right, and wire, right? Um, and people are, they're short of time. A lot of people retired over the last few years, and it's hard finding new people who are more interested in graphics and interfaces to get into the weeds of electronics and automation. Although the mileage may vary on that statement, but I've had a lot of people give me feedback about that. So iLink helps people do more with less, but on the other side too. We're seeing so many of these new IO-Link sensors and products incorporate condition monitoring type data streams. So temperature, humidity, and tilt, right? Besides just being a photo wire and inductive procs, right? And so it's a great gateway to what used to be an expensive, proposition going out and throwing out a bunch of sensors all over the place. Now, when you're just buying an IO-Link sensor, a lot of times you're getting all these other values. And
Yeah.
having all those other values for free, kind of like what Hart did for the like flow meters and whatnot. I mean, we're getting that on our discrete sensors, and that's huge. And I think we're starting to see a rebirth of condition monitoring because it's getting so easy to get those values from the field with things like IO-Link. And the other thing, these look like they're on-machine IP67 type of, machine mount blocks, and that is also somewhere we're seeing a lot of people migrate to because they're realizing that a control enclosure, especially for distributed I/O, is an expensive proposition to buy the steel, to mount everything on a DIN rail and wire it all up. And while one of these blocks of I/O may be more expensive than the IP20 version, right, or NEMA one,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? When you look at the whole everything you have to put together to put a rack of that IP20 I/O in the field, this actually is a lot cheaper and a lot quicker. So those are kind of some of the thoughts from what I'm seeing from interviewing different vendors.
Yeah, that's a good point. And then you touched on another thing, right? Like labor being so expensive. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, the wiring, the time you save on wiring, things like that. So those are very good points there. With the IO-Link offering, so masters and hubs, we do have the masters communication between the PLC and the IO-Link devices, such as the sensors, actuators, and the hubs. So you'll see there, and then also the hubs. And then also we do have the accessories, right? So the splitters for the hubs to go from M12 to 2 M12 and M12 to 2 M8s, as you will see right here. Also the cables, right? The cables are a big deal when it comes to IO-Link. So also offering all of the network cables, power cables, master and hub cables. So now we'll touch on the Unicloud from Unitronics, which is the IoT cloud platform, but also some other IoT solutions that Unitronics has. So I wanted to touch first on the ISO certifications. There's a big conversation around cloud and data management is security. So Unicloud is ISO certified to the 27001 standard, which is just an international standard for information security, as well as ISO 2701, which is essentially a specification for information security management system or information security guidelines for organizations that have any cloud service. So as far as security, um, very locked down, 24/7 network monitoring, end-to-end encryption, two-factor authentication, and role-based data access. So depending on your role within that organization, you can lock that data or have it available to whoever needs to see it or use it. The other thing is you'll see it's a no-code IoT cloud platform. So some of the other major cloud platforms that I've worked with, you have to start with a blank canvas, including programming, writing code, how you want to interact with your machines or your data. With Unicloud, all of this is done for you. So you simply log in, start your account, and you drag and drop your widgets and configure them to your assets that you're trying to monitor. So very seamless integration here. Another piece of the IoT solution here from Unitronics are the industrial mobile routers. Some of the main topics here to touch on is that these routers can be used for a Unicloud gateway for the Vision, Samba, and any third-party devices. So the Unistream has, like I was saying, the onboard cloud-ready solution. But for a Vision or Samba series or any third-party device, you can use a Unitronics industrial mobile router and have it as a Unicloud gateway. Just a map showing a layout here showing Unicloud gateway for the Vision and Samba and third-party devices. For the listeners, top left here, there's a Unistream PLC, which again, you don't need the Unitronics router, but you can add it for some additional features. But other PLC models will use the router to get connected to the Unicloud, which then you'll see the dashboards that you create. A couple last slides here. Again, one integrated solution. So what that means is full line of PLCs, HMIs, VFDs, servo motors, servo drives, and the no-code Unicloud platform, all in the Unilogic programming software. With that, again, kind of where I think Unitronics stands out. Again, the full range of products, customized solutions, whether that's custom faceplates or I/O counts, and then again, the one integrated software environment and the free tech support. Some links to contact information. So there's a LinkedIn link. Please follow us. We'd love to interact with you. Some general email contact information, Unicloud information, webinars, videos and tutorials, trainings, some general success stories, some Unicloud success stories, and a link to the YouTube channel. That's all I got, Shawn.
Well, I really learned a lot about Unitronics. And wow, you guys have a lot more products than I thought you did. And you have a really good solution there, especially with the servos, the VFDs, the IO Link, the Unistream with the Unilogic and all the advanced features and protocols you support there, including things like MQTT and Ethernet IP and whatnot. So I really appreciate you coming on, Kelby, and bringing the audience and myself up to speed on Unitronics. Like I said, I've heard the company over and over again. I've heard people rave about your support and your products, but I've never sat down and looked at it. So I really, again, appreciate you coming on the show and giving us this introduction.
Well, I appreciate the invite, Shawn. This has been great. Again, I know a ton of information you could present on the different products that Unitronics has for multiple hours here, and I think that's what most people out there don't realize, right? They think of the PLC HMI all in one, and that's pretty much it. So I really appreciate the time. I hope it wasn't too much information or overload of information. But just wanted to at least get everything out there and then give contact information for any questions or anything that anybody might have.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that episode, and I want to thank Kelby for coming on the show and bringing us up to speed on Unitronics. I also want to thank theautomationschool.com for sponsoring this episode and making it possible. If you know anybody who needs PLC, HMI, or SCADA training, please send them over to theautomationschool.com. With that said, you can follow me and keep in touch with me over at theautomationblog.com/community. And, of course, you'll find all my training courses over at theautomationschool.com. With that, I want to wish you all an awesome week ahead, and I want to encourage you no matter what happens. Stay courageous, stay fearless, and until next time, my friends, peace.